Greetings. I'm Vaughn B. Shores. They call me Doc V. And I'm going to continue my discussion on African American males and their position on Maslow's need hierarchy. We were ascending up the pyramid the last couple of weeks, but today we're going back down to physiological needs because I want to talk about socio-economic status. Before I begin, I want to do a little demonstration. Here we go. Okay, what was all that about? That was a demonstration that it is very difficult to do two different things at the same time. A lot of people talk about, yeah, I can multitask. I can do this and I can do that. And tests have proven that multitasking is not what you think. When you concentrate on one thing and take it to the end, and then you concentrate on another thing and take it to the end, you're going to be more successful and you're going to be more productive rather than trying to do both at the same time. Tests have proven this. You can go and Google it. You can just look it up. I do pretty good on the piano. I do a little bit better on the guitar. I'm okay. But trying to play them at the same time, that's difficult. Okay? So what's happening on our socio-economic level or physiological level is we're trying to establish our basic needs, food and shelter and comfort. And at the same time, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. What do I mean by that term? If you have not heard that before, that means you're trying to maintain a certain level, a certain status level. When they see you, they say, he's dressed nice. She's dressed nicely. She's got her hair fixed nice. She got her nails. He's got the nice shoes. He's got the car. We're so busy focusing on that we fail to focus on generational wealth, which is why we are behind socioeconomically. The wider society, that's whites, Asians, and people that have moved over from European countries and come over here, they pass on 30% of their generational wealth to their descendants. In the Black American community, we pass along a little bit over 10%, no more than 12% of our generational wealth. Not only that, our generational wealth is small. You pass away and you give your daughter, she gets the car. Or you got a savings account that has a couple $1,000s in it, they get that. Or you got a house that maybe on a higher level, someone gets the house. That's the kind of generational wealth that African American communities tend to pass on. But the wider society, WIDER, they're passing on stocks, bonds, not mortgages, but real estate property and life insurance policies are getting passed on in this particular demographic, and it keeps us behind and it keeps them way ahead. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I was working with this guy, great guy. We shared about our different cultures. I'm Black, he's white. We talked about the differences and we got along real good. We had a lot of respect for each other. Well, anyway, it came up, he was getting married. And I was all happy for him, excited for him. I said, man, you're getting married. And he said, yeah. He said that his parents got him a brand new car, the newest model, and her parents got her a brand new car, newest model, and both parents got together and came up with $25,000 down payment on a house for them. So I have not heard of a Head Start like that. Not in the African American community, I haven't heard of a Head Start like that. So they get 2 brand new cars paid for, and they get $25,000 down in the house, and I mean, that's a big Head Start. That's a sample of generational wealth. I'm sure that there's also life insurance policies. There's also net worth that's going to be passed on in this particular demographic. And I'm like, wow, why can't we do some of that? Well, it goes back to well, we started off, it's 100 years ago, or 200 years ago, less than 200 years ago, black people were slaves. Pick cotton, you owned by the white slave owner. 100 years ago, slavery was over, but if you were in the wrong place in the wrong time, and they find your black body hanging from a tree, they just cut you down, and then they say, you boys, y'all just go home, just go home. And that was it. So, the African-American male, it has started off behind everybody else. And then people wonder, well, what's wrong with them? Why don't they get themselves together? Why don't they do something? Because they had to dig themselves out of a hole first. Many of you, well, most of you should have heard of Usain Bolt. He's a Jamaican man who holds the world record in the 100-meter dash and the 200-meter dash. He is fast. He's retired now, but his world record still remains. So, if Usain Bolt was in his prime, and y'all lined him up for the 200-meter dash, and then you pushed him back, say, Usain Bolt, we're going to put you back 15 yards back before we start. That's what we're going to do for you. You're going to start back there, and then we see how you do, okay? Runners, to your mark. Get set, boom. Usain Bolt hits the turn, and he opens up his stride, and he's pretty. And he's pulling up and catching up. But then they hit the tape, boom. Usain Bolt gets second to last place. But he's the fastest man in the world. But what's the problem? Because he did not get a fair start. This example goes on in our society over and over again. There are certain people, I'll say, that have a problem with African Americans obtaining the same socio-economic level that they have. I'm trying to keep this family oriented. I'm trying to keep it non-offensive by just providing facts. Let me tell you a story. On the college campus, I went off to college, was on the track scholarship. My dad said, do your work. Learn what I taught you. I raised you up in church. I raised you right. Don't go acting like a fool. Dress nice. Speak intelligently to your peers and to your professors. And you were National Honor Society in high school. You'll do fine. You ran track. You broke records in high school. You're going to do fine. So I'm off the college campus, and I'm, finding me a good Christian church group, and I'm studying and doing my thing. So anyway, it's time to take a class. Well, this, of course, it's time to take a class, but this particular class I had to take was a management class, management by objectives, and talked about management styles and management techniques based on the people that you manage. And the professor, he was a white guy. He's about in his 60s. At that time, I was in my 20s, barely 20. And he said, you sit in class and you take notes, and the only thing that your assessment is you write a final exam, and it's subjective. You write what you've learned in the class. I said, oh man, this is going to be an easy class. So I take notes. I'm following his graphs and his diagrams and his outlines, and I'm taking notes and everything. Okay, 12 weeks pass, or 16 weeks, whatever a quarter was back at that time. And I sit there and I take his final exam. I'm going through writing, putting everything I know. I turn in and I walk out of there and I said, Anyway, report cards came. And I looked at my report card. He failed me. I flunked the class. I got a D. D in college is failing. I was like, oh, what? So I went to him the next day. I went up to the front of the class. I said, sir, I don't know why you failed me, I put everything that you stated on the board, all the illustrations that you went through, all the outlines. I covered everything. I have a great understanding of this class. I don't know why you failed me. I'm going to take you again. I'm going to show you. And he was like, well, you want to take me again? You can take me again. I said, I'm going to take you again. So I signed up for the class. Next semester came up, sat in the class 3 rows back from the front. I'm taking notes, copious notes. I'm studying, going back to the book, the references, looking at everything he's saying. I wrote eloquently. I was using a higher level of language. For example, decision making is a human unconscious process involving both individual and social phenomenon based on factual and value premises, which involve the choice of one behavioral activity among one or more alternatives with the intention of moving towards some desired state of affairs. When in management, a decision should be made based on the objective of, and I just went on and I just tore it up, turned it in, walked out of there and popped my neck, and I was like, oh boy. A week later or so, the report cards came out. And I got my report card. I knew how I did in my other classes, and I really wanted to see what I did in his class. I opened up a report card, and I could not believe it. He failed me again, another D. And as God is my witness, I looked up, and he was walking right next to me. And he grabbed his briefcase, and he went down and looked at me. And right away, I turned my head away from him, and I kept walking with a tear coming down my eye. I realized that this man's purpose was to stop me from getting through that class, to destroy me. You're saying, well, how do you know? Maybe you just didn't write it good enough. Maybe you just didn't understand, and maybe it was you. No, because I took the class a third time with another professor. He was white also. Sat there in the back of the class, wondering, is this class a weed out class? Is this class designed to destroy me? I took notes, went through the book. We had a few quizzes, had a few pop quizzes and a couple exams. Took the final exam. 12 weeks later, got out of the class. And it was report card time. Got the report card, took a deep breath, sat down, opened it up. I got an A. I got an A for the class. Well, maybe the other professor, maybe he trained you so well that when you took the third one, no! That man's class was designed to weed me out. Anyway, the jury's still out on that, but that's what I feel. That's what I feel happened. That's what I know happened. Come on. Okay, let's get to income and salaries, socioeconomic status. 10% of all men make over $100,000 a year. 5% of all men make over $200,000 a year, and only 1% make $300,000 to $500,000 a year. 1%. I know some of these people that make $300,000-$400,000 a year. One's a business owner, one works for a large company. I'm not going to say the names, and I feel honored to know them. I can call them on the phone, hey, how you doing? They're doing well. I have a brother that's at the top 1%, 2%, 3%. And if he's watching this, it ain't because of your looks. I'm sorry, I love my brother, and you better not talk about him. I can talk about him. That's my brother, I love him. Most of the time we talk, we join on each other about who's the strongest and who the ugliest is. And the jury's still out on that. I know me and him are going to be talking about this later, but anyway, enough of that. So, the problem, the reason that we're suffering is generational wealth. We started off behind, and now we're playing catch up. And there's certain policies in place that used to stop us from getting loans for businesses, from getting mortgages to live in certain places, from being hired in certain jobs because of our race. Affirmative action has helped some of that, but there are still a ways to go. So, that being said, instead of trying so hard to keep up with the Joneses while you're trying to maintain some stability, you need to focus on that stability, those investments, that savings account. You don't need a $700 a month car note. Your friends see you in this nice car and like, wow. You got a BMW X5. You got a Mercedes E400. He's looking kind of sweet over there in an Audi. And you're smiling, you're looking good. After about 3 or 4 months, your friends don't even notice you anymore. They're done looking at you. But for 60 months, you got to pay $729.56 for that car. Some of that money should be going toward retirement, toward investments. What are we doing? We're trying to do 2 things at the same time. Some of us are pretty good at it, some of us not. That's it for this week. Doc V, and I'll see you next time.